Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Om Gajananam Bhutaganadi Sevitam Kapitha Jambhu Phalasara Bhakshitam Umasutam Shoka Vinasha Karanam Namami Vigneshwara Pada Pankajam. Namaste. Welcome to episode 11 of DISHA, a new series of an inward journey to discover our inner strength and happiness through the Bhagavad Gita. In the previous session, we commenced the study of chapter 3. Let us continue the same study of the third chapter along with a few more points of Karma Yoga. Srimati Pannaga Prasad will cover the verses from 8 to the first line of verse 20, followed by a teaching quiz by Dr. Sanjay Mehrotra. Dr. Hegde sir will give us an introduction to the day's topic. Before that, let us listen to Srimati Nilima, who is going to chant and explain the Mahamrityunjaya mantra, Om Trayambakam Yajamahe. Over to you, Nilima.
Jai Gurudev. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanat Mrityor Mokshi Amamritat. Mahamrityu mantra means victory over death. It's Lord Shiva who won over death. So it's Lord Shiva's mantra. Trayambakam Yajamahe. Yaj means uniting, with whom I want to be one with or dissolve into. Uniting with that consciousness which is all around me. Trayambakam is who has got three eyes, who is aware of past, present and future. To that consciousness I bow down. Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam. Sugandha. Gandha means vasana. By uniting with that consciousness, Sugandh, all good vasanas, Vardhanam, increases. All impurities are removed from body and mind. Pushtivardhanam means body and mind becomes very strong. Urva Rukamiva Bandhanat. All bondages like attachment to children, money, all these shackles of mind leave so easily. Like how ripened cucumber leaves from its stem. By the grace of Lord Shiva. Mrityur Mokshiya Amritat. One is liberated from fear of death. When one's life is ripened with wisdom, knowing that one Amritat is pure consciousness principle, which is always Amar, immortal, and Ajar, unborn, one gets liberated. Jai Gurudev.
Thank you, Nilima, for nicely explaining this Mahamrityunjaya mantra. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om. As introduced by Shamila, we are studying the third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. This is our second class on the third chapter. And these verses that we are studying today, that will be verses from 8 to 20, will contain the essence of Karma Yoga. Whatever you can accomplish, what is Karma Yoga and what is possible through Karma Yoga will all be explained in this set of verses. We will have Pannaga Prasad, who has taken the lead to explain these mantras with the background of Tattva Bodha. Before she begins, let me just introduce these verses to you so that we have a little preview of what we are in store for today. So we have 13 mantras to study, so it will be a large number of mantras, but you will see in this first mantra, the 8th mantra. Shri Krishna gives a very strong command, Niyatam Kuru Karma Tvam. You must do your karma. And what kind of karma? The Nitya Naimitya karma. That means your Pancha Mahayajna. And this is like an order. It is an order. And he discourages from being lazy. akarmana. In the next verse, there is a shift in the objective of karma. Yajnarth, the word yajna means whatever action that you do, make it as an offering. Who can make any action as an offering? One who is grateful for the opportunity to do a particular work. Anyone who's happy to do work is a grateful heart. And such a person, whatever action is done as Ishvara Arpana. This is certainly a big maturity over an Agnya that was given in the previous verse. Now, how do we convert any activity? That means in Karma Yoga, you will see there is nothing like a religious activity and a secular activity. Whatever activity that I do, that means from the time I wake up in the morning, the whole day, many of us are busy with so many activities to do. All of them are an opportunity to convert it into a yajna, and as will be rightly brought out, can I do it as an Ishvara Arpana Bhava? In addition, we are very particular that we get a certain result out of our actions. So there are certain actions where we may not get that kind of result. It may look like a waste of time. And these are the Pancha Mahayajna. And Krishna emphasizes that part of our daily activity should be the Pancha Mahayajna. Saha Yajna Prajashrishtva Puro Vacha Prajapatihi. That means right from the beginning of the creation, the Prajapati who created this whole world introduced yajna also. Here yajna means doing it as of course in the traditional part it was a fire sacrifice, but here now our modern understanding is whatever action I do it as an Ishvara Arpana. And in doing so, we will be able to train our mind. Now, this is another great byproduct. If I have to bring in Chitta Shuddhi, if I have to train my mind, then it is possible Ishta Kama Dukh. That means my mind now becomes a Kama Denu. Whatever I want will be possible through a proper mind training, and that happens through Karma Yoga. Then comes Devan Bhavayatanena. So you will see this is repeated 3 times, and this is Shri Krishna telling us, can we do a win-win approach? So do it as an offering to the gods, and in return, God will bless you abundantly. Ishtan Bhogan Hi O Deva. These verses now, Shri Krishna uses a very strong word, stena eva saha. That means if you are not doing your action as an offering, and if you're here only to extract the maximum that you can get, he calls such a person as a thief. That means we need to, it is again a commandment that whatever we do, can we do it as an offering? Otherwise, we lead a very selfish life. Here, Yajna Shishta Shina Santoha. So the wise people, how do they partake? That means they make it as an offering, and after they offer, they are able to take away whatever they as the remnants of the offering. Otherwise, Shri Krishna says, if you don't do it as an offering, you will incur sin. So the message again is, can we bring in the attitude of gratefulness all the time in all our activities to do? Then comes a shift. So now we finished with Agnya, we finished with Yajna, we finished with Chitta Shodakam, and the 4th aspect is Annat Bhavati Bhutani Parjanyad Anna Sambhava. That means here Shri Krishna is talking about the cyclical nature. When you do yajna, you will get the rains, and from the rains you will get crops. From the crops you are nourished, and thereby there is a cyclical nature. And then again he says karma Brahma Bhavam Viddhi. And Brahma, here Brahma means the Vedas. The Vedas have come from Akshara, have come from the Lord. So there is a connection between karma, the Vedas, and the Vedas have come from the Lord. And Shri Krishna brings in the cyclical nature, and he encourages evam pravartitam chakra. We have to maintain dharma. If any of us does not do our karma as a yoga, you break the cycle and you incur sin. From the verse 17 onwards, you will see a sudden shift. And the shift is a person who now has spiritual wisdom. These are beautiful verses. Yastu atmaratireva syat. That person who is able to revel in the Atma. Atma triptasya manava. He's so full of his higher nature. Atman eva sat santushta. One who is content and one who's purna. Tasya karyam na vidyate. What is there to be accomplished for such a person? Naiva tasya kritenartho na akritena kaschana. For such a person, there is nothing to be accomplished through action. There is nothing to be accomplished by not doing anything. Such a person is not dependent on anybody. He is not dependent on any situation. In conclusion, tasmad asaktam satatam karyam karma samachara. Asakta. Asakta means do your action without any sense of being bound by the outcome of these actions. And by doing so, you will attain to paramapnoti purusha. You will be able to attain to the highest that is possible. And he gives an example of Janaka. Janaka has been able to attain without taking to sannyas. He was a grihastha. He continued to do his activities as a king and as a grihastha. Karma nevi samsiddhi. Samsiddhi is a person who is attained to the highest. Janakadiya. Loka sangraham eva. That means even when a person has attained to Paramapurushartha or Moksha, such a person is not lazy, he continues to work for one reason, because such people now become role models. Remember, Karma Yoga is a sadhana to attain to Jnana Yogyata. And therefore, once you have Jnana Yogyata, there is no more need to perpetuate the sadhana. But Shri Krishna says such people are role models and people are examples. We have some beautiful verses in this class, and it will be Pannaga Prasad who will explain these verses on the background of Tattva Bodha and Karma Yoga. Pannaga, please.
Harihi Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. My pranams to Pujya Swami Paramarthananda Ji, on whose talks the following presentation is made. Karma Yoga, as we learned in the previous DISHA class, consists of two parts, Karma and Yoga. Karma means right action and Yoga means right attitude. Let us quickly recap what these terms mean. Tattva Bodha, the introductory text to Vedanta, says any karma or action that we perform will belong to one of these three categories. The first and the best, the Uttama, the Sattvic, the Nishkama karma or selfless action. This benefits the largest number of people or living beings. It is done with an expanded mind where we give a lot and take little. Hence, Sattvic karma enables our spiritual growth. The second, Madhyama type of karma is Rajasam karma. These are selfish actions which exclusively benefit me or very few others like my family. Done with a limited mind attitude, they lead to a spiritual stagnation. This is the most common type of karma practiced today, intentionally or unintentionally. The third and the worst type is Adhama karma, Tamasam karma. These are the most selfish type of actions where the beneficiaries are I, me, and myself. With an immoral mind, I will deliberately harm others who get in my way, thus causing my terrible spiritual downfall. Therefore, a karma yogi will maximize the proportion of sattvic karma reduce rajasam karma, and completely avoid tamasam karma. This basket of karmas is called right action. Yet, Lord Krishna warns us that even the best of right actions will not have the intended spiritual benefit if they are done half-heartedly or with ulterior motives. What is the right attitude that we should have to convert our karma into karma yoga? We must sincerely and wholeheartedly perform all the right actions as an offering to the Lord with Ishvara Arpana Bhavana. Since we are always reaping the results of what we sow, the right attitude is also about accepting every result, every karma phala, favorable or unfavorable, as Ishvara Prasada. Favorable results are received with humility, and unfavorable results are accepted without criticism or resistance. Only then we can achieve the equanimous mind, the samatvam of a sthita prajna. As Lord Krishna says in the second chapter, samatvam yoga uchyate. This samatvam is called yoga, a state of strength and serenity in our minds, irrespective of storms brewing outside. In the light of this background from the Tattva Bodha, let us formally enter the third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, titled Karma Yoga. In the previous class, we studied verses 1 to 7, where Arjuna had a doubt. Which path to follow for liberation, Karma Yoga or Gnana Yoga? The Lord answered that both paths have to be sequentially followed. Karma Yoga has to be done first to attain the required qualification for Gnana Yoga. That is, the purity, maturity, and detachment of the mind. Only after this mindset is achieved, one can follow Gnana Yoga and attain moksha. Lord Krishna also tells Arjuna that inaction is not an option because an immature idle mind is certainly a devil's workshop. We now enter the most important part of this chapter, probably the most important in the entire Gita, where Krishna explains Karma Yoga. Niyatam kuru karmatvam karmajyayo hya karmanaha sharira yatra pichate na prasidhyeda karmanaha. Perform the obligatory actions, for action is superior to inaction. From inaction, even the maintenance of the body would not be possible for you. Here, Lord Krishna is giving a clear directive, an ajna to Arjuna to perform niyata karma. The sattvic, nishkama actions prescribed in the Vedas called Panchamahayajna. They include offering our worship, remembrance, and services to the gods, when it is called Deva Yajna, to our ancestors, Prithvi Yajna, our scriptures and rishis, Brahma Yajna, our fellow humans, Manushya Yajna, and the entire living world, Bhuta Yajna. The key phrase in this verse is Niyata Karma, meaning these are compulsory actions to be performed as a commandment of the Lord, Ishvara Agna or Vidhi. Any person who fails to perform these duties will incur a special type of papam called Pratyavaya Papam, where the punishment is getting stuck in the prison, in the karagraha of samsara. Sri Krishna instills a sense of fear of punishment as the first method to make people with immature minds to take to Karma Yoga. Yajnarthat karmanonyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tadartham karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara. In this verse, Sri Krishna converts his tone of inducing fear, Ishvara Agna, into one of inducing worship, Ishvara Yajna, and this is presented to mature minds. For a Karma Yogi, work is worship because they remember that the world is the Vishwarupa of the Lord. They are acutely aware of their blessings, a wonderfully functional human body, any body for that matter, a wonderfully functional body and mind, sense organs and sense objects. and are hence grateful for any opportunity to be able to contribute to the welfare of God's magnificent creation. With this attitude, they transform mundane worldly work into worship as an offering to the Lord. Therefore, action plus devotion becomes yajna. Action minus devotion becomes mere karma. Any work becomes stressful if this attitude of gratitude is missing, leading to bondage in this world. Lokoyam karma bandhanaha. When every action is a yajna, the very action becomes a reward in itself. There is no attachment, no seeking external appreciation or validation. We are simply content. Mukta Sangha Samachara. Saha yagna praja srishtva purovacha prajapatihi anena prasavishyadvam eshavostvishta kamadhuka. Having created human beings along with yagna in the beginning of creation, the Creator said, "May you prosper by this yagna. May this yagna be a source of all desired objects for you." During creation, when Lord Prajapati Brahma created humans, he gave humans the Vedas as a manual to lead their lives in harmony with this creation. In this verse, Lord Krishna refers to the human intellect as Kamadhenu because it can accomplish anything, good or bad. This analogy is very important because when the human intellect is applied appropriately in the form of sattvic actions, it creates an ideal, prosperous society, prasavishyadvam, where everyone is working for the welfare of everyone else. Thus, Karma Yoga, as prescribed in the Vedas, is the source of uniform growth and fulfillment of all. Devan bhavayatanena te deva bhavayantu vaha parasparam bhavayantaha shreyah paramavapsyatha. May you nourish the gods by this yagna, and may the gods nourish you in turn. Thus, nourishing each other, you will attain supreme good. This verse strengthens the idea of living in harmony with nature with a sense of reverence. In Hinduism, all the gods we worship represent the natural forces: the wind, the rain, the rivers, the sun, the earth, and all the living beings who work in tandem to sustain our planet. Our culture is one of cooperating with nature, not conquering nature. What science calls ecological harmony, we call Karma Yoga. Hence, as Karma Yogis, we respect and conserve nature. Mutually in turn, Parasparam Bhavayantaha, all the gods bless us with plenty to achieve supreme states of being. Parama Shreya Avapsyatha in all four Purusharthas, Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. Ishtan Bhogan Hivo Deva Dasyante Yagna Bhavitaha Tairdattana Pradayaibhyo Yo Bhungte Stena Eva Saha. The gods who are nourished by yagnas will indeed give you all the desired pleasures. He who enjoys their gifts without offering to them is verily a thief. Deva Dasyante. All the presiding deities of creation, like Indra, Varuna, Agni, Vayu, Surya, will bless you with all your material and spiritual goals only when they are worshipped through Karma Yoga. That is, through a life of work as worship, doing work which best benefits the world. For example, a Karma Yogi will not exploit nature. Hence, with ecological balance being maintained, timely rains, bountiful harvests satisfy everyone's needs. Of course, now we all need many more things to lead comfortable lives. Yet we must remember that every object is made from natural resources. Hence, every time we enjoy something, natural or man-made, with faculties given to us by the Lord Himself, let us pause and be grateful. Otherwise, our enjoyment is akin to the sin of stealing from the Lord Himself. Yagna Shishtashinah Santo Muchyante Sarva Kilbishaihi Bhunjate Te Tvagham Papa Ye Pachantyatma Karana. Those noble ones who partake of the sacred remnants of yagnas are freed from all sins. But those sinful ones who cook for their own sake partake of sin. Next slide, sir. From this verse onwards, Lord Krishna looks at Karma Yoga not as an agna or a yagna, but as a spiritual purifier, chitta shodakam. This angle of Karma Yoga is only appreciated by a seeker of moksha, as he knows that purification of the mind is a necessary qualification for Gnana Yoga. When I train my mind to give what is mine for the benefit of society, I let go of my mamakara. Then, ultimately, in the wake of self-knowledge, I can give up the very ahankara itself. As a karma yogi, having converted all our karmas into yagnas, receives the results as Ishvara Prasada, yagna shishtaha, the remnants of the yagna. Consequently, with his purified mind, he becomes free of all papams, sarva kilbishaihin muchyante. If we fail to practice karma yoga and instead indulge in purely selfish rajasic and tamasic actions, we will be partaking of our own sin with pratyavaya papa. To a simple but one of my favorite verses, annad bhavanti bhutani parjanyat anna sambhavah yagnat bhavati parjanyo yagna karma samudbhavah. All beings are born out of food. Food is born out of rain. Rain comes out of yagna, and yagna is born out of karma. In verses 14 and 15, Lord Krishna presents Karma Yoga as Dharma. How is Dharma defined here? Dharma is a way of life to maintain the harmony of creation. As much as we try to live in our urban bubbles, we are still very intricately connected to the natural world. And how? Annad bhavanti bhutani. All living beings are born out of and sustained by food. Parjanyat anna sambhavaha. Food is produced because of the rain. Yagnat bhavati parjanyaha. Rain is a result of yagna. Now, what does yagna mean here? Yagna here refers to ecological harmony, which alone can bring timely rains. And how is this harmony maintained? Yagna karma samudbhavaha. This perfect balance in nature is maintained only by Karma Yoga. And Karma Yoga is born out of living beings, mainly humans, completing the cycle of sustenance of life. Karma brahmodbhavam vidhi brahmakshara samudbhavam tasmat sarvagatam brahma nityam yagne pratishtitam. Know that action is born out of the Veda. The Veda is born out of the Lord. Therefore, the Veda is all-pervading and it is always employed in yagna. Next slide, sir. Human beings have a limited intellect. It is difficult for us to fully comprehend which actions are good for the world and which are not. Climate change, manifesting as heat waves, unseasonal rains, floods, and drought, is a result of human actions alone. Therefore, Lord Krishna says, don't depend completely on the human intellect, but follow the Vedas, because they are revealed by the imperishable, the Akshara Lord himself. Brahma Akshara Samudbhavam. Brahma here refers to the Vedas, which have stood the test of time for over thousands of years. They teach us to lead a harmonious lifestyle. This Vedic teaching is sarvagataha, present everywhere, and especially where Karma Yoga is practiced. Moving on to the next verse. Evam pravartitam chakram nanuvartayati hayaha aghayurindriya ramo mogham partha sajivati. In this world, he who does not follow the cosmic cycle, which is initiated by the Lord in this manner, is a sinful and sensual person. He lives in vain, O Arjuna. Next slide, sir. All processes in this universe are cyclic. The water cycle, the carbon cycle, the Krebs cycle, etc. So also a karma yogi always follows the cosmic cycle of giving and receiving, often giving more than he receives. Today, the term circular economy has been coined to achieve sustainable development. In this verse, Krishna strongly criticizes those selfish people who amass wealth only for themselves without sharing it. He also condemns those who spend their time in sensory pleasures alone. Such people live in vain because they are of no use to themselves or to society and are wasting a precious human birth. Yastvat maratireva syat atmatriptascha manavaha atmanyeva cha santushtaha tasya karyam na vidyate. However, suppose there is a man who loves the self alone, who is happy with the self alone, and is contented with the self alone. There is nothing to be accomplished for him. In verses 17 and 18, Lord Krishna gives us the benefit of Karma Yoga. As we have understood earlier, Karma Yoga is not an end in itself, but an essential preparatory stage for Gnana Yoga, which will lead us to the ultimate goal of moksha. Once a person has purified his mind sufficiently, he has to withdraw his mind from Karma Yoga and focus on Gnana Yoga through Vedanta Shravana, Manana and Nididhyasana. Then he will attain Purnatvam and no action is required from him. He has achieved the supreme. This Gnani is Atmanyeva Santushtaha, in a blissful state of Atma Tripti, reveling in his true nature as the Atma, finding his contentment and happiness from the self alone, not depending on the world for them. Naiva tasya kritenartho na kriteneha kaschana na chasya sarva bhuteshu kaschidarthavyapashrayah. In this world, he has nothing to gain through action, nothing to lose due to inaction. Upon no being does he have any dependence for any purpose. Sri Krishna says, a Gnani is one who has discovered his inner independence. Our physical dependence on the world will continue as long as our bodies exist. But as far as our mind is concerned, we can achieve total psychological freedom, and this inner independence is called moksha. This Gnani is detached from his actions and its results. Yet he enjoys doing whatever action the situation warrants. And if no action is needed, he is still content. Most importantly, he is emotionally independent of people and everything else in this world. Therefore, our spiritual progress is from world dependence, samsara, to God dependence, bhakti, to self-dependence, gnanam. Coming to the penultimate verse of today. Tasmadasakta satatam karyam karma samachara asakto hyacharan karma paramapnoti purushaha. Therefore, always perform the action to be done without attachment. For by performing action without attachment, a person attains the supreme. Here in this verse, Lord Krishna tells Arjuna that his goal and path is very clear. Follow Karma Yoga, purify the mind, follow Gnana Yoga, discover self-sufficiency and be free. Karyam Karma Samachara, do your duty as a Karma Yogi. Stand up and fight the war. Asaktaha, without any anxiety or attachment, without brooding about the past or bothering about the future. Live in the present and do what you have to do wholeheartedly and continuously, satatam. Then you will eventually, through Gnana Yoga, attain the highest result, the Parama Purushartha of moksha. Karmannaiva hi samsiddhim asthita janakadayah lokasangrahamevapi sampashyan kartumarhasi. Abiding by duty alone, people like Janaka have attained liberation. At least, considering the upliftment of society, you should act. Krishna concludes his teaching of Karma Yoga with the first line of this verse. Can we go to the previous slide, sir? He inspires Arjuna to act, quoting the example of King Janaka, who was a remarkable grihastha who attained liberation while fulfilling all his duties and responsibilities as a king. With this, we come to the end of this important section of the Bhagavad Gita, where Lord Krishna explains Karma Yoga to Arjuna. Next slide, sir. To summarize, Ishvara Arpana Bhavana as a Karta and Ishvara Prasada Bhavana as a Bhokta is the essence of Karma Yoga. The key guiding principle is give to maintain harmony. Lord Krishna presents it from 4 different perspectives. Ishvara Agna for immature minds. It is a commandment of the Lord, instilling the fear of punishment. Ishvara Yajna for mature minds. Karma is thus a worship of the Lord, grateful for everything we have. Chitta Shodhakam, purification of the mind for Gnana Yoga. And finally, as Dharma, a way of life in which we maintain the social and ecological harmony of creation. Any of the above ways lead to spiritual progress. So whichever way we choose to follow Karma Yoga, we gain the benefit of spiritual progress. And Swami Paramarthananda gives us a lot of hope when he says the one sign of spiritual progress is interest in self-knowledge. Finally, I would like to end with a popular quote. We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give. And that is Karma Yoga. Hari Om. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Panaga. Absolutely brilliant. In this 25 minutes, you have summarized the entire Karma Yoga, referred to the relevant verses in the right sequence, chanted those verses very beautifully, brought out the essence of the meat of each verse, and then this final concluding slide, you have summarized Karma Yoga. Thank you very much. Have we been able to listen to all this very clearly? As part of the DISHA, we have a method to check whether our listening is good enough, and we would like to have a teaching quiz. There are questions prepared mainly on these verses, and it will be Dr. Sanjay Mehrotra who will present this quiz. It was jointly worked by Dr. Ahalya and Dr. Sanjay. Dr. Sanjay, please.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. So I have tried to put the background of the verses as the quiz, and which starts from verse 8, which already has been chanted, where Krishna's order is perform the obligatory action, for action is superior to inaction. From inaction, even the maintenance of the body would not be possible for you. So it's very easy for us to understand that Krishna says that you have to maintain, you have to perform action. But as we discuss, what is that action which becomes a yoga? And that's where the attitude comes in. So first question, sir. So the first question is that if you all have heard about the gunas, and I understand that not only we perform actions according to our gunas, we also perceive information about the world according to our gunas. And this is my learning. And not only we are reacting with certain characters, which is your prakriti, we also imbibe information according to the gunas. So this darshanik view or philosophical view is based on certain description of a philosophy. What is that philosophy called as? Anybody? It is called as Sankhya Darshan, Sankhya philosophy. And the Sankhyas were even the older than the philosophy of Vedanta, that is Vedas. So they were the initial psychologists, and Kapila Rishi was probably one of the most important one. The second question, sir. How many types of karmas or yajnas are prescribed for a karma yogi, and what are they called as? So we discussed this while this expression was going on by both Dr. Hegde and Dr. Panaka. What are these yajnas called as? They are called as the Panch Mahayajna, which is the mandatory prescription by the Vedas for performing, being a yogi. And what are these 5 Panch Mahayajnas? They are the Devi Yajna, the Pitri Yajna, Rishi or Brahma Yajna, Manushya Yajna, and the 5th one is Bhuta Yajna. So in our philosophy, anything which is interacting with you in this universe is nothing but to be looked after as a yajna, as a important aspect of our lives. And that is why this prescription is necessary for us to become a karma yogi. And of course, being a karma yogi, you become an adhikari to become a Gyan yogi, because you have to have your karma right first, and then only you become a Gyan yogi. Next slide, please. And in the 9th verse, where Krishna says, this world is bound by action in case of any action other than action which is meant for yajna. Therefore, perform action for that sake without attachment. So this is again a prescription that Ishvara Arpana Bhava, Ishvara Prasada Bhava, and no attachment. So as he said, as Dr. Panaka described, if you get a bad result, humility, accept it. And if you don't get a good result, if you get a good results, accept that as well. Next slide, sir. So the question 4 is, what is the downfall of not following the path of Karma Yoga? Suppose you don't fall, you become a karmi, you have performed action in your life as a tamasic person or a rajasic person, where you're only interested in either yourself or maybe immediate members, which is the rajasic, and you may harm others by doing the karma. What is the description given about that person? The answer is, he continued to remain in this karagar. Karagar is what? Jail of samsara. You'll not be able to get out. You will go and come. And some people say, what's wrong in it? But you will go through all the problems of being unhappy, being lost in the anxiety of living in this world, and that is called as samsara karagra. Punarapi jananam, punarapi marna. Question 5. Next question, sir. One who is desirous of results of karma and not perform the karma as a worship to the higher nature of God is called as, so this is the other, we call a karma yogi who is not desirous of the result. What do we call somebody who is desirous of action, is only interested in the result, is called as a karmi, a karta and a bhokta. So whenever you're doing any karma where you are trying to enjoy the results of that karma, you are a karmi, you're not a yogi. And Krishna says, yogi bhava Arjuna. That means your karma has to be performed with the right attitude and right action, dharmic action. The action cannot be adharmic, and that is the most important part of the karma. So you can do a adharmic karma and say, this is my duty, I'm doing it for the sake of earning money for my family, and I can do a murder also, that is adharmic. So that cannot be described as a karma. Having created human beings along with yajna in the beginning of the creations, the creators say, may you do proper yajna by this. May this yajna be source of all desired objects for you. So who is Prajapati? So all this information about the Vedas and the Karma Kandas and the Vedanta is provided by Prajapati. So who is that Prajapati? Answer, that is Brahmaji himself. Prajapatih is the another name of Brahmaji who gave us the Vedas, the manual of Karmakanda and Vedanta, which gives us the Brahma Vidya. And once we know both together, it becomes a yajna. And that is what was described during these verses. Next question, sir. What is the concept of Kamadhenu equated to? So I actually was quite amazed by that understanding about a Kamadhenu, a cow, which gives you, and of course, probably you must have all heard about the story between the Vishwamitra and Vashishta, where Kamadhenu was able to provide Vishwamitra's army all what was wanted, and then ultimately Vishwamitra got very excited about, and he wanted to steal, and he said, no, this is our Mata, you can't take away from us. That's the story about the creation of the Gayatri mantra. Where the Gayatri came from? It came from the conflict which happened between the Vishwamitra, who wanted to become a Brahma Rishi. So Kamadhenu is nothing but equated to our intellect. Kamadhenus is nothing, which is something by which you can achieve anything. So if you have a good intellect, you can acquire anything. This is like kind of a symbolic understanding about what is Kamadhenu, which gives you everything. And that is equated to an intellect. There is superior intellect. After you obtain a Karma Yogyata and Jnana Yogyata and become a yogi, your mind becomes sharper, your intellect becomes sharper, and by that you can achieve anything, everything in this world, although you're not attached to it. That is the most important lesson out of it. Next slide, sir. Then he also says that may you nourish the gods by this yajna, and may the God nourish you, which is very important. The gods will always nourish you. If you worship a god for a certain reason, there always an answer will come you, and you will attain the supreme good. Next question, sir. So how many devatas are described in our Shastra? And Dr. Panaga did connect to this understanding. Any intelligent happening in your body, in the nature, the coming of the rain, the production of the grains in the soil, the intellect, the digestion in your body is equated to a devata in our literature. And that is why they have described this unlimited kind of devata. The number is given as a 330 million, 330 crores devatas. That is the meaning. And sometimes some other philosophies or other religions doubt this, that what kind of a religion is this, where there are 330 million devatas. But on the other hand, anything in this country, even a stone is worshipped as a devata, even earth is worshipped as a devata, rain is worshipped as a devata, the wind is worshipped as a devata. So these are all devata. Your own digestive capacity is worshipped as a devata. Your assimilating capacity is worshipped as a devata. And that is how the number reaches is 330 million. Next question, sir. What is the concept of these devatas? And this is what I discussed with you. That the concept of devatas is that these devatas are that intelligent activity which cosmos provides you, both in you as well as outside of you. And that will aggregate to 330 million. And we worship all of that. We are not worshipping any god here. We are worshipping an entity which is equated to a god. This is the, you can call them not the real god, the higher nature, the Paraprakriti. These are the Aparaprakriti of which we worship also. Next slide, please. And the last question is, and he says in this verse, the gods who are nourished by the yajnas, when you do a yajna, when you do a karma yoga, will indeed give you whatever you want, the desired pleasure. He who enjoys the gift without offering to them, so you have to give something back, is verily a thief. Stena eva sa. That is what Krishna says. So my next question was that all the presiding deities for fulfillment of our desires are worshipped for human gain. And Krishna is teaching the worship is an yajna. Karma yoga, if the fulfillment of desire is not reciprocated with a selfish idea that I did the hard work, I got the result, why should I worship God? So he is verily called as a thief. Stena eva sa. And I think that is my last question. Hari Om Sai.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sanjay. Now, this is the delight for all of us organizing these DISHA classes. When those who are given the brief to prepare for these classes come prepared and make an excellent presentation, we have something for posterity based on the Bhagavad Gita, based on the teachings of Swami Paramatmananda ji. And I think in this class, we have achieved one outstanding understanding of Karma Yoga. And I'm personally very proud of each one of you who have committed to today's class. The next class, we continue alternatively between the actual verse by verse. We are in the 13th chapter. And in the 13th chapter, there is one part where Shri Krishna says, this is worth knowing. All people need to know. And this topic about Gneyam. What is this Gneyam Brahma that we will study in the next class on 3rd of June? We will conclude this class by Shamala, please.
Thank you, Dr. Sanjay Mehrotra, sir, for a wonderful quiz time. Thank you, Pannaga, for an exhaustive information presentation supported by very beautiful slides with melodious chanting. We'll come back with DISHA 12 on Monday, 6th of June, 2022. Before that, on coming Friday, 3rd June, we'll continue with our study of Kshetra Kshetrajna Yoga, chapter 13. Please log in by 6:45 p.m. on Friday. Thank you. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.